Hey guys, Doc here, just doing some comic videos and reviews like usual every week. Just wanted to thank Mike at Centerpoint Toys and Games out here at 4792 Navy Road in Millington. He was kind enough to let me make a video out here, and I will do a short video after this and show you guys around the shop and let you see all the cool stuff that Mike has got. He's got comics, action figures, and they do games and things like that out here every weekend. So just if you happen to be in the Millington area, give him a shout and tell him that Doc sent you. Okay, for the comics this week, we've got Superior Spider-Man number 4, still by Dan Slott, Mark Bagley, and inked by John Dell. And this story has been talking about Dr. Octopus taking control again of Peter Parker's body and his mind because he wants to save Anna Marconi, who was Dr. Octopus's girlfriend when he was in the body of Peter Parker. So he's trying to go back and save her in order to redeem himself, and he wants to be the Superior Spider-Man all over again. And Peter decides to fight back and says, "You're not going to take control of my body without a fight." Doc Ock says, "I used to control the Sinister Six, now how about the Sinister 600? And on the other page, Peter reminds him, "Hey, I've got friends too. I've got people that'll back me up, and I've got friends that will help me in this situation. So is this really the fight that you want to have?" And as it goes through, they decide that they're going to do battle one against each other. And it seems like Dr. Octopus is winning until Spider-Man goes into his spider armor suit that was back in the 600s to almost Amazing Spider-Man 700. And it's all about Supernova. Supernova was a assistant to Dr. Octopus back in his Superior days, and he ended up trapping her and causing her to turn into this supervillain called Supernova, who has all of these electronic powers. And Doc Ock feels bad about it, but he also feels like it's just collateral damage. But Ock, in his outfit, gets the better hand and the upper hand of Peter in his outfit and starts wailing on him. And by the time it's all said and done, then we have a surprise character come out and save Peter. And it's Uncle Ben from the Spider-Man book that Slott and Bagley did, where Peter's Uncle Ben lived, but Peter was never Spider-Man. He was a doctor instead. So it's really dynamic art, as always. It's really a good story. I was kind of down on it on the 3rd issue, and I said I didn't know how much longer I'd be reading that book, but that has kind of rebirthed my interest in this book. And at the end, the bad guy gets taken out. So that's always a good thing. And it sets up some other things. So that was Superior Spider-Man number 4. All right. The second book is The Deviant number 4. And I also said that I thought I might be dropping this book, and it is an interesting premise, but at the same time, I think I will be dropping it after this issue. I don't think I'm going to continue on. It's a 9-issue miniseries by James Tynion IV and art by Josh Hickson. It's talking about a Santa Claus killer back in the 1970s, and it's got that kind of scratchy art with strong pops of color, things like that. And there is a journalist that's doing a comic book talking about the original killer from the 70s who's locked up. And he dressed as a Santa Claus, and he would lure gay men into his house and kill them, and string them up with Christmas lights and things like that, just like a Christmas tree. But he was captured. So is this a doppelganger? Who's doing these killings now? Because it seems like there's a copycat that's come around, and the story started, looks like around 2019, according to the pages, is when the story was supposed to start. Well, this guy's been locked up since the 70s. So who's doing these murders? Who's killing these folks? But I just like I just like the artwork by Hickson. It's scratchy, but it's definitely not, you know, cheap. It's serviceable, and it tells a story, and it's good storytelling in the artwork. A lot of people knock John Romita Jr. for his blocky figures or his lack of different faces, or the kids have a head 3 times the size of the body, but his storytelling is impeccable. And it's the same with Hickson. It might not be your cup of tea artistically, but it tells a straightforward story, and if you took all the dialogue out, you would still be able to follow what was going on from panel to panel and page to page. So, yep, can't show that page because it's got Santa doing bad things. But it's interesting premise, but I just don't think it's for me. So if you want to check it out, again, it is not an all ages book. It's a mature audience's book. It's an interesting story. It just wasn't for me. What was for me was Green Lantern number 8. And that's Jeremy Adams, and the artwork is by Nahulpan. That is actually who. So that I make sure that I get his name right, because I don't want to mess up on that, because that's not fair. Give me just a second. Oh, where are the credits in this silly thing? Okay, there we go. Writer Jeremy Adams and artist Amanke Nahulpan. Okay, so this picks up from where issue 7 left off, and you've got a character that is coming, named Roz, who is coming to ask Hal Jordan for help, because there is some force in the universe that is destroying central batteries for the different Lantern Corps. And he wants Hal Jordan to come out and do some detective work and find out who's destroying these batteries and why. The only problem is Hal is landlocked on Earth and unable to go. So he says, you know, come on, you have the willpower, you can do this, you are the greatest Lantern that ever lived, and go and break free from this earthly bondage. So Hal flies up to try to go away, and every time he always ends up, his ring just almost shuts off. He just kind of shuts off right there once he hits the atmosphere, and he can't go any higher. It's like the Silver Surfer when the Surfer was locked on Earth years ago by Galactus. But Carol Ferris comes out, and she begs him to stay, and he says, I've got to go, but I'll stay if you tell me that you want me to stay. And her pride won't allow her to do that. But she sees him try to go off and help this character, and she's sitting in the car, and just, she realizes that she really loves Hal. So they go visit Madame Xanadu, because Hal thinks that maybe Madame Xanadu can help Hal break the inability to get past the upper limits of Earth. And she actually says that Sinestro has been by, and she couldn't help him either. But she said there are some people that could help you, so she sends them on their way. And then we find the United Planets Lanterns. And the United Planets is the governing body, because the Guardians don't exist anymore. So the United Planets are now the governing body of the Lantern Corps. And these are actually people that are sent out by the United Planets as lanterns on their behalf. Kind of like if you've got a school district, you have district managers, you have people that come out and see how things are going. These 3 lanterns are there to check up on Hal Jordan, and actually on his friend, to say, hey, this guy's been going around and we need to take him in, and you know, thanks for capturing him. And instead, Hal says, no, you're not taking him in. And a fight ensues. It's really good artwork. I'm really enjoying this artwork. I like Zormanico, and he does an excellent job on this book, but this is definitely not a fill-in artist. This is somebody who still has a lot of style, has a lot of detail to their artwork. So at the end, the Planet's lanterns get the character that they want, and they take him off, and they say, but we're gonna have to come back and deal with this rogue lantern. Hal Jordan is a rogue lantern, and we can't allow that to stand. And so at the end of it, Madame Xanadu had told him to go back to where he felt a spike in the energy of his green energy. And so he goes back to Spain. And as he goes back to Spain, he says that he feels like there's a supercharger put on his ring. And at the end of it, he goes down underneath the earth and ends up in a hole, a cavern, and goes to explore. And it says the secret of the green will be next. So I can't recommend this highly enough. Really like the character, always have liked Hal as the best lantern, and I just can't recommend this book highly enough. And here's Amazing Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man number 43 by Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr. and Scott Hanna on inks. This is the penultimate issue of the Gang War series that has been going through multiple books. It's been going through Amazing Spider-Man, Luke Cage miniseries, Daredevil miniseries, Miles Morales main title, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, Spider-Woman, and then it just rinse and repeats, and it's going to finish up, it looks like, in March with Daredevil Gang War number 4. But anyway, so now we're about to, we have a quiet moment with Spider-Man right there, talking to Randy Robertson. He says, I know that you got hurt because you just wanted to stop the violence. You wanted to stop anybody from getting hurt. Randy was going to marry Tombstone's daughter, Janice Lincoln, and at that ceremony, somebody tried to shoot Tombstone and take him down. And it didn't kill him, but it put him in the hospital, and it caused a bunch of strife with Hammerhead and Madame Mask and a bunch of other characters. This is not the best story that I've ever read from Amazing Spider-Man, but it is an interesting story because it seems like Zeb Wells has a good grasp on the street level stories. I didn't care about any of the other stuff that he's written in the past couple of years on this book, but this Gang War story and the first 5 issues with John Romita Jr. were some of the most interesting books that I've read out of this series. So I hope that it continues to grow. We now have both sides. We have Madame Mask's characters, and then we have Janice Lincoln's characters, and they're about to go to war over who is who's going to lead New York City's gangs. Madame Mask is trying to take control over the entire territory, as is Janice Lincoln. And so Madame Mask is surprised here by She-Hulk taking out all of her cohorts. And there's Miles and Spider-Woman. It's really great artwork, and it's really, to me, it's a great story as well. And I can't wait to see how it finishes up. You have some surprising things here, like female Daredevil Elektra going up against Silvermane, and she goes and tries to attack him with her size, and the size break because they are not made of adamantium, but Silvermane's body is. So overall, as this story has gone on in the main title, it's gotten stronger, and it's kind of given me a little bit of hope that the title can be revitalized and get stronger as it moves on towards issue 50. And that's a story I'm waiting to see. I'm waiting to see exactly what happens with issue 50. But you can say what you want to about Romita losing his way over the past couple years, but I still love his stuff. And to be honest, one of the reasons why I haven't really considered dropping this title is because of Romita Jr. I think that his line work and his storytelling are top notch. He's lost a little bit as he's gotten older, but that just happens to every artist as you get older. You just lose that ability to be as detailed, be as quick, and so if you're going to knock Romita, you got to knock anybody else for getting older and just not being the artist they were when they were 25, when they're 60 and 65. Okay, so that ends on a cliffhanger. and I'll pick it up again in 2 weeks, and we'll see how this particular part of the story ends. Okay, and the last new book that I picked up this week for right now is called If You Find This, I'm Already Dead. And it's the Flux House books from Dark Horse, and it was written by Matt Kent and art by Dan McDade. And as you can see, it's quite a bit bigger than the other books that I had. This is more of a magazine-sized format book, but it's got a character in here. Let's see. By the name of Robin Reed. And Robin Reed is a journalist. And this sounds like it's a military excursion, but it's actually that they're traveling to a different planet that they are trying to fortify a outpost on, because they're trying to give Earth and all of our people a different chance to live, as Earth is getting older and just not able to sustain us anymore. So we found a different world, and Robin is going to go with them to check it out and see what's going on. So as you saw on this other page, the main guy, the main army gentleman is named Gil, and he is sitting there talking to her, and he says, I'm not trying to give you a hard time, you're really a good journalist. Well, all of a sudden, here comes a missile from nowhere. And now we've landed very harshly on the planet's surface, and it seems like we've got some villains right here that we're not really sure where they came from, but they seem to be trying to attack the army group that she was with, and they're taking them out one at a time. So Gil decides to take her down underground, and as they go underground, they think that they might be safe. People are trying to sniff around for them, trying to find them. They see that there's this entire undercavern society that has been here for who knows how long. It's hitting all the right buttons. It's hitting all the buttons of political intrigue. It's hitting all the buttons of being thrown from Earth into other planets, other places. And it's also hitting, ancient civilizations with very interesting characters. And then, of course, she says that she sees people being treated as slaves, and that translates in any language that, it's just not right to treat people that way. It's not polite, it's not kind, you wouldn't want to be treated that way. So just make sure that you don't treat other people that way. And the artwork has got a definite tone of indie, more so than the Amazing Spider-Man book that I just showed, or something more mainstream. But Dan McDade has very good line work. The characters are easily distinguishable from one another. You're not trying to figure out, who is this and where are they coming from and why have I not seen them before. Instead, you can easily follow the story right on along. And as it goes on, something happens to her compatriot Gil, and she finds herself at the end alone on a planet that she's never been to before. And at the back of the book, then you've got a sketchbook area that shows different covers and shows different designs, things like that, as the process of the book was being built out. So I'm really excited, and I'm ready to check that one out again next month when it comes out. So if you like interplanetary politics and intrigue, then be sure to check this one out. And I did pick up a few books in the dollar bin, but we're not going to go through those quite as deeply. I managed to pick up from the 90s by Stephen Platt and Rob Liefeld and Robert Napton. It is Prophet number 7. That's one of those books that Stephen Platt was almost like a secondary version of Todd McFarlane with a level of detail in his artwork back in the day. I also picked up issue number 8 of Prophet. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. Just the level of detail on this was crazy. And I was just talking to Mike before I came and did this video, and it's not the same type of detail that McFarlane had or that Platt had in his Moon Knight series at Marvel a few years before this, but it's very detail driven and cross-hatched, you know, similar to Jim Lee, but at the same time it's more McFarlane. It's bombastic. And then the last two books that I picked up was Deathlock number 9 and number 10. And that was a two-parter featuring Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider was in that series, and long story short on the Deathlock books is that Nightmare has captured the soul of Michael Collins, who is Deathlock, and so Deathlock the man is just going around and attacking folks and acting randomly, and the computer can't figure out why. And so Ghost Rider ends up giving him the penance stare at the end of this issue and gets trapped by Nightmare in Nightmare's realm. So then with issue 10, then he has to go into Nightmare's realm, pull the soul of Michael Collins out, which it ends up being a doppelganger anyway. Michael has to escape on his own, which he does, and then regains control of the Deathlock armor and the Deathlock body. So really awesome stuff, just majestic stuff from Dennis Cowan from back in the day. It was Gregory Wright was the writer on this title. He was also the colorist, and it's just good 90s flavor. It's just fun. It's like watching an old 90s Schwarzenegger film. It's just popcorn fun, and you just sit back and enjoy. You don't have to think about it too much. It's not a deep-seated emotional tale or anything like that. It's just a Michael Bay film with explosions. So, but for right now, that's everything that I got this week. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. Thank you for the subs and the likes on the channel. Please keep them coming. Give me some comments. I haven't been getting a whole lot of comments in the comments section, so comment with what you picked up this week. Comment with something that you think that I might enjoy reading. I like superheroes, but I also like emotionally charged things. I like psychological books. I like a little bit of everything. As you can see, I do indie books. I do mainstream DC Marvel comics. I do everything else. I even like the back issues. So if you've read something that you think I might enjoy, give me a thumbs up, give me a heads up in the comments section, and let me know. Thanks again. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.